Y'all. Man, straight to the point. Sports and entertainment. Want y'all to hit that like button. Sub to the channel if you're not a member. Also hit them notifications so that you're able to get all of my content and as well as all of my videos. Shout out to all of my subs. 10 toes down. Day ones. And all of my new subs for the progression of this channel. I also want to give a shout out to the whole entire Lions Den basketball and boxing communities. We are talking hoops right now. Let's go ahead and cook. Brown sugar is in the building. The beautiful, lovely brown sugar. She is in the building. The queen is in the building. Please hit that like when you do come into the building, man. Hope everybody feeling all right. I decided to go ahead and go live right now to talk about this just a little bit before we get to the game. And there has been a lot of talk surfacing about this subject right here. Um, when we're speaking of the best player in the world, and then of course the other subject I'm gonna talk about in just a few minutes. Um, Now let me say this: all of this is a matter of opinion. Okay, it's all a matter of opinion. Uh, yes, you could throw, the analytics. You could throw the numbers out there. We could talk about what this guy averages, what this guy does statistic wise on both ends of the floor. Um, but it is still a matter of opinion. This is opinion based. Okay. What's up, Ted? I see you in here, man. Look, man. The conversation is going to come up, and a lot of people have been asking who is the best player in the world, and there has been a debacle between Luka and Jokic, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't truly understand. Okay, I don't truly understand, but that is the debate and the debacle that is going on right now between Joker and Luka. And the reason why I don't understand why they have those two there. Okay, yes, I do understand that Joker, he did win the MVP. He didn't deserve the MVP, but he won the MVP. Okay, he didn't deserve it. And also, I don't understand why they're putting Luka up there when clearly Kyrie has been the best player on his team. Okay. Uh, what's up, David? Now, um, right now, the reason why I don't have neither one of those two as the best, you know, in my opinion, in the world right now, as we speak, is because while Joker had he had a good season. They ended up going to the playoffs and everything as the defending champs and everything. He won it. He won his third MVP. We all know good and damn well that SGA truly deserved the MVP. And on top of that, I put SGA on top of both of those guys because of the factor that a lot of people are talking about now in comparison to what they were a couple of years ago, and that is playing both ends of the floor. Okay, and now you're seeing it more and more. The media is starting to talk about it more and more. For instance, that's why I'm getting ready to talk about Jaylen Brown in just a few minutes here. But I have SGA right now as that top player. Okay, now until Luka can prove to me that he can do it consistently and he wins a ring, and on top of that, he could do it consistently throughout the regular season, we don't even need to have that talk. And another thing is why aren't they putting a guy like Jaylen Brown as, in consideration of that? You know what I'm saying? Tatum, I can understand why they don't. You know what I'm saying? Because there have been times when Tatum needed to show up, but he absolutely didn't. Okay, what's up with it, Stephen Green? I'll see you in the building. You have SGA, I have number 5. Okay, behind who though? I got SGA number 1 because SGA, if you go look at his numbers and you also go look at his play, he's pretty much been the consistent one on his team. There have been times when his team won't show up, or you don't have that many people on his team in double figures. Let's not forget, I think it was the game before last, or either that last game. It was just it was him and I think McDaniels, if I'm not mistaken, that had they were the only ones that were in double figures. And there's been other cases where SGA pretty much, you'll see the whole pack. They might have their double figures or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But SGA, he's pretty much leading the pack. He's carrying it, and on top of that, SGA he has clutch factor, and also nobody expected the Thunder to come out of the gate for as young as they were. And let's just call it what it is. The NBA came out, they admitted that they made a mistake. Okay? Okay, they admitted that they made a mistake. And a lot of people feel like the OKC Thunder should be in here right now. But that's a whole nother argument. You said Kyrie number 4. You said Pritchard is underrated for the Celtics. Okay. But okay, you got Joker number 6, but okay, but who do you have? We're talking about. You said you have SGA number 5, but who's above that? You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking about the best player, period, right now. Like I said, the best player is not in there, and the argument with Luka, they're gonna say, yeah, he hasn't won anything. Um, Luka, don't get me wrong, Luka is clutch. You know what I'm saying? But Kyrie is also clutch too as well. But Kyrie did need to show up last game. I mean, he shot uh, somewhat decent, but at the same token, it's like when you needed him most, he just wasn't there. He didn't play his best game out of previous game. I think he had like 16 or 20 points. I forget. But to me, a lot of people got to understand that Kyrie has been the better player since he's arrived in Dallas, and he's not getting his just due. So that's why I don't have Luka as the best player in the world. And then also, Luka has to get, if he gets to a finals, then he's gonna have to do it on that big stage. It can't be where Kyrie is pretty much taking over and stuff like that, and then he pulls a LeBron over AD in the bubble where AD is doing all of the work and stuff like that, and he just so happened to get injured or something like that, and then LeBron ends up taking all of the all of the hardware. No, it can't be like that, because then we're gonna know what's involved and what type of narrative that they're trying to push. You said Luka is a PG. If he wins a chip, where do you rank him? I don't see Luka as a point guard. He's not a point guard. He's listed as a point guard, but he's not a point guard in my eyes. Okay, I don't classify him as a point guard. Um, I'm just saying he's listed at point guard, but I don't classify him as a point guard. But if he gets a chip, then you have to rank him pretty high. The only problem with that is that Luka, they had him in the MVP voting, but to me he shouldn't have been up in there. As a matter of fact, I would have put Anthony Edwards up in there before Luka, the way that he was playing, because Minnesota had been in that top three pretty much all season. But you're talking about all time, he would have to be, because then it's funny that you say that though, Ted, because we have to be talking about Kyrie like this, because don't forget, Kyrie has done it on the big stage. Luka hasn't done it on the big stage. Yeah, I mean, he done it in the Eastern Conference Finals and stuff. Kyrie had done it consistently on a big stage. 33, 9 and 9. Yes, that's tremendous, and that's great. But he isn't efficient. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm really glad you mentioned that, Ted. You know why? Because when we talk numbers and stuff, those numbers a lot of times can be very misleading. You know why? Because you do know that Kyrie Irving was I think a plus. He was like a plus 48. You want to know what Luka was? And I'm talking about overall in Dallas. Let me see if you can get this one. Okay, he was a negative 27. Um, the last time that they played the Celtics, okay, the first game, okay, you want to know what Luka shot? He shot 40%. He shot 40% from field goal, and he shot 25% from 3-point range. And on top of that, I think he was like a minus a negative 20 or something like that. Okay. And they lost the game too. They were 0-2 against the Celtics. I'm just talking about the Celtics. Everybody pushing this goddamn narrative. Oh yeah, the Mavericks gonna go ahead and they gonna go to the Celtics and stuff. So let's go ahead and get to that shit, right? All right. Everybody talking about Luka gonna go ahead and dominate and all this other stuff. Let's go see how he played against the Celtics, okay? Now, the second game, he did somewhat better, but they still lost the game. He shot 56%. He did have a triple-double, you know what I'm saying? But he was still a minus for his team. And he shot horrible from three-point range, and he shot horrible from the free throw line. Now, if you go look at Kyrie's numbers, his numbers, if I'm not mistaken, I think I want to say Kyrie. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have missed those games. I'm not too sure. I didn't look at Kyrie's numbers, because I know Kyrie had missed a number of games this season in comparison to the previous season. But what I'm saying is, and what my point is that Kyrie has been more beneficial than Luka, even though that Luka's numbers, they might be 33, 9 and 9 and everything like that. But go look at Kyrie's efficiency. And then also go look at the plus minus too. You said Luka, Kyrie, and PJ are gonna cook Boston. Not without Lively. Did you forget about Lively? Lively's not 100%. Lively is, if and of course, they had him questionable and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Most likely, he is gonna play. I don't know. Yeah, Lively hurt his neck, so that's what I'm saying. Without Lively or a Lively that's 100%, I'm sorry for you. I like Gafford. I like PJ Washington. You can't rely on Tim Hardaway Jr. Me and Ted had already talked about that before. Tim Hardaway Jr. was one of the better 3 and D guys in this league at one point in time. He is not a non-factor now. The kid can't use him anymore. Right, but okay, so why are we okay, but hold on. Why are we dismissing the fact about Minnesota? Like, listen, I'm not the only one that feels that Minnesota can actually shock the world. Don't forget that Anthony Edwards, he likes the smoke. He likes the challenge. He likes an uphill battle. Don't forget that they have went through an uphill battle before. Okay? Don't forget that Anthony Edwards does play both ends of the floor. Don't forget that they are at full strength. Don't forget that they have multiple guys that can actually show up when necessary. And I say when necessary, when they have to. Salute to you, Austin, too. My bad, bro. And listen, man, all I'm saying is that we can't dismiss the fact, about Minnesota, you know what I'm saying, and them coming back. Everybody's already, and you don't think that Minnesota's listening to that? You don't think Cat and, well, I should say really Anthony Edwards, you don't think he's listening to that and listening to people already calling it and banking on the fact that Dallas is going to get to the finals? That's the worst thing that you could do. You know what I'm saying? They automatically, some people are already saying that Boston gonna win the whole damn thing. You said Dallas wins the night? No, sir. No, sir. Absolutely not. Not in Minnesota. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about too, that the mainstream media wants to go ahead and pick up, that the LDBC, guys like myself that appreciates defense, guys like Two Raw that appreciate defense, guys like Ticket that appreciate defense, good solid defense, playing both ends of the floor. For Jaylen Brown to say what he said, I don't think that he was taking a shot at Luka. I think that he was talking about the overall culture of how they define basketball right now in terms of how they look at it. You know what I'm saying? They look at a guy that's a quote unquote two-way player as out of the norm, or they're a dinosaur or something like that. When back in the days it wasn't called no two-way player or anything like that. That was what was expected of you. Michael Jordan wasn't called no two-way player. He was expected to play defense. Larry Bird, he wasn't called no two-way player. He was expected to play defense. You know what I'm saying? Each and everybody had to play defense. Some were better than others, but they at least gave some sort of effort. Now, if you see, a SGA, if you see a Anthony Edwards, if you see some of those guys that play both ends of the floor or something like that, it's like, oh, or Jaylen Brown, he's a great two-way player. When now you see Keyshawn Johnson is agreeing that Jaylen Brown is basically saying that all of these guys that are, would rather see a turnaround, or they rather see a beautiful shot, or they rather see, a posterizing dunk or whatever. They don't appreciate the guys that give hard, asserted effort on defense or whatever. So they overlook those guys and they automatically give it to the guys that are, more catered to offense. And that's the truth. But see, everybody's I know everybody's criticizing, the fatigue factor with Anthony Edwards and stuff like that, with his hands on his knee, him being fatigued and stuff like that. Do you not realize that you do realize that's what Jordan had to do? Do you not realize that Anthony Edwards is doing what some of these guys had to do? SGA was doing what some of these guys had to do, which is play both ends of the floor, what Kobe had to do. Like, that's why, like, when I asked that question about Shaq averaging 40 in today's game and stuff like that, a lot of people feel like he wouldn't average 40, because of course he didn't average 40, and I mean in the regular season. All right, in the regular season, a lot of people feel like, oh, he wouldn't average 40, because what was he doing during the regular season? He was coasting his ass during the regular season. Everybody knows that. But in the finals and in the playoffs, Shaq did turn it up. That's why he did average 30. A lot of people don't understand that. They'll say Shaq didn't average 30 in the regular season, but he averaged 30 with 34 and 14 in the finals. I mean, he was great in the finals. All that is great, but think about who was carrying the slack and picking up the slack during the regular season. That's because you had guys consistently being there, consistently playing both ends of the floor. The coach of the Dallas Mavericks right now, he has got that implemented in the Dallas Mavericks. That's why you see those guys playing a different type of game now. That's why they've been so successful. Luka didn't want to buy in at first because he didn't want to play defense. His whole thing was being catered to offense. Paul Pierce said, Dennis Rodman. Oh, T Price up in here. What's up with it, old head? I see you in the building, man. My bad, brother. I'm sitting here rambling. Said Jokic is the best player in the world. I can't give you that, Memphis. Not in my opinion, but that's your opinion, man. He said Paul Pierce, Rodman couldn't last in today's NBA. You know what, man? And I like Paul Pierce, but Dennis Rodman locked up Paul Pierce. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Rodman can lock up anybody in today's game. I don't care who it is. All this stuff about, oh yeah, LeBron would absolutely dominate Rodman. You are out your mind, because all of those dunks that you see, like, all of these dunks, these guys, these open dunks, you know what I'm saying, cocking it back, you know what I'm saying, making that noise like Tarzan on NBA Jam, oh, and all that shit. Yeah, you could do all that shit, but then next thing you know, you're gonna have somebody jumping with you, and that's what we're Rodman doing. You're gonna have somebody meeting you at the rim, and that's why I appreciate a guy like Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is gonna meet you at the rim. You know what I'm saying? Very few guys are gonna meet you at the rim, but no, Paul Pierce was capping when he said that. He would score 17. Yeah, exactly. Dennis Rodman didn't care about scoring. That's the beauty, of having it. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Dennis Rodman. I know I get on some people's nerves, like Cypress, who got Tim Duncan over Rodman, which I don't understand for the life. Why would you have Tim Duncan over Dennis Rodman at power forward? What is wrong with you? But that's neither here nor there. um, but yeah, he was capping when he said that statement. But it's interesting though that they want to talk about Jaylen Brown now. They want to finally give him this guy give him his props and everything. But Jaylen Brown's been playing the way he's been playing. You just starting to see it now, and you're starting to appreciate it. And the world don't want to admit that. Okay, maybe we should be looking at Jaylen Brown in at the forefront rather than Tatum, because he brings more to the table. No, he's not. No, he's not. How many rings does Duncan have? He's got 5, right? Rodman has the same amount. How many times has Duncan won Defensive Player of the Year? I'll wait. And better yet, has Duncan ever three-peated or repeated on any of his championship teams as a starter at the power forward position? No, he hasn't. Rodman's been on a three-peat team, and he's been on a back-to-back team with the Pistons. Okay? And we're talking about a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Okay? And I love Tim Duncan. Don't get me wrong. I like Tim Duncan. But we're talking about the same amount of rings. All right? Got 5 of them. He got 5 of them. And on top of that, I can use Dennis Rodman anywhere on the floor, Ted. So if we're playing Golden State, and I need to shut Durant down, I'm gonna put Rodman on him. I need to shut Steph Curry down. I'm gonna put Rodman on him. I need to shut Klay Thompson down. I'm gonna put Rodman on him. I need to give Draymond hell. I'll put Rodman on him. You know what I'm saying? I need to play Rodman either on D Wade. I need to play him on LeBron or Bosh. He could guard all 3. I need Rodman to get in somebody's head, irritate him, make him so mad, drive him wild. Oh, guess what? Tim Duncan never did any of that. Matter of fact, Tim Duncan would stay quiet. And he was so quiet, it would drive KG insane because KG could never get to Duncan. It was the opposite with Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was a pest. He was psychological. He was going to get in your head. And if you think that you're just going to come in and do some little finger roll or something like that, we're going to block it, send your ass to the floor, and then we're going to keep on going. And nobody's going to give a fuck about you. That is the way that you are supposed to play basketball. Not, okay, get the ball, big fundamentals, all this other stuff. Yeah, that's great on offense, but what are you doing on defense? Can I use you with several different guys? What if he gets in foul trouble? Dennis Rodman rarely got in foul trouble. What's up, Be More Legend? I see you in the building. If Dennis Rodman is guarding Shaq, I want people to understand it. Dennis Rodman is 6'8". Shaq is 7. Well, he admitted that he was like 6'11" without shoes or something like that. But I mean, we'll just say 7 foot. A 7 foot, 300-pound monster. Dennis Rodman only got like 6% body fat, y'all. And all of that is muscle. Do you know how strong that is? To be able to contend with that? Yes, he gotten dunked on by Shaq? Yeah. But I remember, Shaq will tell you, Shaq used to be irritated by Dennis Rodman. He irritated all of the guys that you considered Iron Men. He irritated them. He irritated Karl Malone. He irritated Kevin Willis. He irritated all of these Iron Men. He irritated Alonzo Mourning. All of these guys that were, like considered great Iron Men in the league. He irritated them. And on top of that, Dennis Rodman was in tip-top shape. He was durable. As much as I like Tim Duncan had injuries. You can always count on him. Forget the fact that this guy used to have orgies in his house with every playmate that you can think of. Forget that. Forget the fact that he broke his dick fucking a porn star one time, okay? Pause. Okay? Forget the fact that this guy would literally be drunk as hell and be hungover the very next day in practice, showing up in pajama pants, and then get ready and suit up to play or whatever, and still grab you 20. Forget all of that. What did he do during the game? You never had to worry about that. Always showed up to work. So I think some people, forget about the greatness of him. Like, everybody's so focused on offense and all of that other stuff. And that's why, like, whenever we get into that conversation about Dennis Rodman and somebody says that Tim Duncan is greater than Dennis Rodman, I'm going to say no. And that's why he's my starting power forward. If I don't need to, like, anybody that's on that team, I could switch off Dennis Rodman on. I don't need anybody else. And everybody on my starting five are defenders, with the exception of Larry Bird, who is a team help defender. Other than that, everybody on there could play defense. Michael Jordan, he could play defense. Isaiah Thomas, he could play defense. Hakeem Olajuwon, enough said. And the only reason I have Hakeem Olajuwon in there is because I didn't get to watch Wilt Chamberlain. But I want people to know, I would if I would have witnessed Wilt Chamberlain, how he was described, I probably would have had Wilt Chamberlain at center. I mean, it's the truth. It happened. He broke his package one time. I'm like, damn. He had to go to the hospital. He had to go to the emergency room. He had to go to the emergency room. But another thing that you're not looking at too about Dennis Rodman too is that he was cerebral. Everybody talks about picking up the triangle offense. Oh, it's so difficult to learn and all this other stuff. You had Carmelo Anthony getting drove insane how to pick up the triangle offense. You want to know who picked it up? One of the first fastest guys to pick up the triangle offense. Phil Jackson said it was Dennis Rodman. And I'm talking about new guys that actually came to the Chicago Bulls team. Because you got to remember they added Ron Harper, and they added Dennis Rodman and a couple other people. Like Randy Brown and Jeb Bushler, all those guys. And Steve Kerr and all them guys, man. But Dennis Rodman picked it up extremely fast. But you got Carmelo Anthony having to call the late great Kobe Bryant to understand the triangle offense. You said Rodman Hart. Yeah, exactly. Because and a lot of people don't know that Ron Harper. I mean, he was a he was a great defender, man, until he ran into Jordan, man. When he in his Cleveland days, he was saying he could do the best on Jordan. Jordan smoked his ass. And that's when he knew what was up. But, to Ron Harper's credit, though, he had a an injury that kind of set him back or whatever, and then of course you had the whole little politics thing, about him supposedly being involved with the drug game and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm not gonna get into, but let's just say Ron Harper, I felt like was robbed of his career, and a lot of people felt like he would have been uh, close to what Jordan was, but um, even he knew that Jordan wasn't to be fucked with. You said Phil Jackson hid Kerr on defense because his shooting yeah, his shooting was crucial. It was, and Chicago really, if you really look at the way that Chicago played, they pretty much could play any style that you wanted without a dominant big man. They didn't need they didn't even need a prototypical point guard, because we know that Jordan really didn't even like handling the rock like that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even like dribbling like that. He liked to dribble just to get to his point. If you look at the way that Jordan dribbled, man, he wasn't trying to do all that, you know what I'm saying, all that Kyrie bullshit or whatever. No, he was just simple, just get to the spot, 1, 2 dribbles, and that was it. That's why, like, when we played King of the Court yesterday, you only get 3 dribbles, and that's it. If you dribble 4 times, bye-bye, get off the floor. Bulls were defensive minded, 93 Knicks almost beat them. Yeah, but that wasn't gonna happen. That wasn't gonna happen. That wasn't gonna happen, man. They were able to adapt to what they were doing because they had been through that before, Ted. They had climbed. They had played a familiar foe like that before with the Detroit Pistons. They played a familiar foe like that. When you talk about Xavier McDaniel, when you talk about a pest like John Stark, when you talk about guys like Charles Smith, Charles Oakley, um, you know Anthony Mason, you know what I'm saying? Guys that Greg Anthony, man, these guys played physical, man, and they had already experienced that with the Detroit Pistons. So it was nothing new. It was nothing new. So, man, like, and I didn't mean to go on a tirade about Dennis Rodman, but I just trip out, man, every time somebody says that. I love to have that argument. But everybody has their own starting 5, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to sit up here. I'm not going to dismiss the greatness of a Tim Duncan, because Tim Duncan is a great. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why they don't have Tim Duncan in a lot of people's top 10. I don't even understand why they don't in a lot of people's top 10. He does have a case. Now, does he have a case for GOAT? I don't know about that, but he has a case to be in the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Because the dude, he does have 5 rings. He's been consistent. He took a pay cut, and even at his older age, Tim Duncan still was successful. Being able to adapt to whatever stage that he was going through in his career. And that's why, like I said, that a guy like LeBron James, he could learn from a guy like Tim Duncan, because Tim Duncan, he did everything for the greater good. He didn't sit up there trying to control the team and control the narrative, Nah, he was a, he was a system player, but he was also the franchise player, but he was also led by example. And there would be times when Tim Duncan would speak up and lead vocally. But he was, Tim Duncan, they'll tell you he was a great leader too. Yeah, I don't want people to think like I don't like Duncan or anything like that. I like Duncan. If it wasn't for Duncan, Robinson wouldn't have 2 championships. Yes, I said 2. David Robinson has 2 championships. You got to remember the first championship they played. I mean, they won. David Robinson actually, he was averaging in double figures. I think he was averaging what, like between 14, 16. Don't quote me on that. But it wasn't the David Robinson because it was after the injury. And then, of course, that next championship or whatever, he didn't really too much average that much or whatever. He was just trying to go ahead and get that second ring or whatever. But he learned from David Robinson. It was a culture there. And that's how you're supposed to do it. When you get older, you let the other young guys go. Like when I was playing yesterday or whatever, there was like two younger kids when we were playing. Because when you play King of the Court, everybody stands in line to to go and face that guy, whoever has the ball or whatever. And um, the little kids, they went right in front of me or whatever. But then he was like, "Nah, I don't want to go or whatever." Man, I kind of, I said, I nudged him. I said, "Go ahead and go out there, man. Like you went ahead and went in front of me. Go ahead and go. You wanted to smoke in the beginning. Now that you see you getting ready to get close, because this guy is like 7, 8 inches. He got 7, 8 inches on you. Don't get scared now." But I just say that to say that's what a veteran is supposed to do. You're supposed to you got to show guys on and off the court. That's why Byron Scott was instrumental to Kobe's life. It's not all about them days of you trying to high fly and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Them days are over with now, man. Them days are over with. Now you got to be more of the teacher, but I don't think he truly wants to do that. I don't think he wants to teach a whole bunch of grown men in his own profession. Now, when it comes to Bronny or something like that, yeah, but not. He doesn't want to teach anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Kobe was willing to sit down and teach you. He tried to teach Bynum. He tried to teach uh, Sasha. He tried to teach, or well, he actually taught Gasol. He did his best to try to motivate and teach Lamar Odom. Yeah, you said midlife crisis. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, midlife crisis, man. Get over it, motherfucker. You 40 years old. There ain't nothing you could do about it. You know what I'm saying, Ted? Like, man, get over that shit, LeBron. Like you 40 years old, nigga. If you'd have been straight, if you just retired, but you wake up one morning, you like, oh shit, I'm 40. Nigga, you can't do nothing about that shit. It's over with, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Now your kids is graduating, they in college. We coming up on graduation, man. I had a couple people hit me up. They're like, oh my God, my son. Man, my son had graduated high school, stuff like that. I'm like, nigga, what you thought these kids was gonna stay babies? What you thought these players in the NBA, they was gonna be rookies? They was a rookie just like you were. Old enough to drink. Yeah, 22 seasons. What you going now we gonna chase the record for you to play 30 goddamn seasons? Like, you know what I'm saying? Come on. But if you are gonna play 30 seasons or something like that, look, look, you can play as many seasons as you want to. But if you're not okay, if you don't have the common sense enough to realize that you're doing more damage, like if you're doing more, you're doing damage control. That's what you're doing. Okay, you're doing damage control to the Lakers. That's what you're doing. Now, if you were, like I said, 40 years old, okay, let's say me and Ted, we're the best players on our team, or we're looked at as the best players of the team. I'm 40, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Ted is a young guy. Okay, he's a young and up and coming young lion. Okay, he clearly has the skill. He clearly can jump higher. He clearly is healthier. He clearly has years ahead of me. I'm not going to do anything to block his shine. You know what I'm saying? That's going to make me look like a old ass nigga that can't let go. Yeah, but he was jealous of Jordan. A lot of people don't know that either. He was jealous of Jordan because he couldn't become what Jordan was. He was very jealous of Jordan. Now, the other thing that I wanna say is that a lot of people think that Dr. J was jealous of Jordan, and that wasn't true. Because before Jordan, there was David Thompson, who Michael Jordan had at his Hall of Fame speech, and who he idolized. And then before Michael Jordan, it was Dr. J, and it was Connie Hawkins, and it was Elgin Baylor. I'm talking about high flyers, guys that used to go through the air, and then to another extent, Earl Manigault. But Earl Manigault didn't really make the league like that and stuff. But guys that used to fly through the air and do all that crazy stuff that were actually jumping pretty higher than Jordan. Yeah. Nah, no, no. Dr. J wasn't jealous of Jordan. I want to dispel that narrative. Dr. J wasn't. They think that Dr. J actually appreciated Jordan, but that's the narrative that they have because he didn't put Jordan in his top five. He didn't put him in as the top players or whatever. But Wilt Chamberlain wouldn't either. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wouldn't either. Jerry, guys like someone I don't know about Jerry West, but there are other guys. You got to realize that these guys they watched other people before Jordan. So the way that they feel like, oh yeah, you don't put LeBron at small forward or something like that. He didn't put Jordan at shooting guard. I wasn't mad at Dr. J for doing that because he's older than Jordan. So everybody got this whole little narrative, and they're pushing this narrative that Dr. J was jealous of Jordan and all this other stuff. Man, how's he gonna be jealous of Jordan when he's considered, a lot of people considered, there was at one point a lot of people were calling Dr. J the best player, one of the best players of all time at one point. And see, a lot of people don't know this either. Like, you only saw like a little bit of Dr. J, of like who he truly was in the NBA. If the ABA, that's where he was really. That was the prime time, Doc. You had a couple of little solid years left when he went to the NBA or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like the Sixers version um, of Dr. J. That was great, but man, the other Dr. J. When we talk about the Nets, Dr. J. Whew, that man, he was a terror. I mean, Rucker Park, Dr. J, playing outside in Converses. So, yeah, that man, George Gervin was, you know, I think he wanted to be what Jordan was. He saw, that Jordan was coming in as a young, vibrant, man and everything, and taking over the Chicago Bulls or whatnot, and that's what he did. So it was a lot of animosity coming from George Gervin's end, and it don't take nothing away from George Gervin. He was a tremendous player, but he wasn't what Jordan was. Matter of fact, I think he was more offensive minded more than anything. You know, yeah, but yeah, we definitely got a game tonight. Um, Definitely gonna watch it.